Hello, everybody. We're going to get started in just a few minutes here. We're just waiting to get our in-person settled. But if you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Lauren Franzak. I am here from CareerLink. But today we will actually have Daryl Wentz in from the Small Business Development Center. He will be presenting right in front of us, but I will also share the screen so you guys can see a little clearer than trying to look at that board right there. So thank you so much for joining. We will get started in just a few minutes here. All right, everybody, I think we're about to start up right now. So just as a reminder, my name is Lauren Franzak. I'm here from PA CareerLink, but today we do have Daryl Wentz presenting from the Small Business Development Center. For today's session, we do just ask if you have any questions to hold them towards the end. That way we can make sure we get through all the material. But if they do pop up, you can pop them in the chat and we will make sure we get them answered for you. But without further ado, I will let Daryl take it away.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today. For those of you, I see another face from yesterday. Welcome. My name is Daryl Wentz. I was here yesterday for an event. Today is a follow-up for yesterday's event. For those of you that don't know me, been with the SBDC at Lehigh for about 5.5 years now. Before that, I spent 19 years in the banking industry, doing everything from management to commercial lending, business banking, and finally just had enough of the banking world and wanted to come out and help people rather than push product. And it was a perfect fit. I used to do a lot of work with the SBDC, helping them get financing for their customers. So it was a perfect way to slide in with them and feel like I could help people more. So today we're going to be going over what's called the next step. It's a continuation of yesterday's event that we did. This is going to give you more, how do you pursue now the company that you're looking into? So, and hopefully we don't have any issues with the remote. So today we're going to be going over the interest inventory, the SWOT analysis, business model canvas, and financial templates. So steps to starting the new business. So first you need to have a business idea. And that's where we're going to start looking at the interest inventory. What is the feasibility of that company? To do that, we're going to look at doing the SWOT analysis. Whatever. And for those of you who don't know what SWOT is, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the industry. And you can do that for yourself, for your company, for your competitors' companies. We'll dig a little bit more into that. Business development. So that's where we're going to start looking at financial templates that you can use to try and guide you through the process. And then finally, opening your business, which is the ultimate goal for everybody. But we want to make sure that you're going down the right path. going into something that makes financial sense, something that you're gonna enjoy, and that's the biggest thing you wanna make sure. So let's talk about the business idea. Interest inventory. So this is a tool that people are using, working on their business idea by outlining their skills, likes, and dislikes. And we talked briefly about this yesterday, so I'm actually excited to go into this one. So questions that you want to know as a business owner. What are you good at? What do you think you're good at? What do other people think that you're good at? What do you love to do? And what do you dislike to do? Now, this program was run by a gentleman I used to work with. He is now retired, but he did this test and left it in here for me. So I will show you what he liked and disliked and how it related to what he wants to do now that he's retired. So first we'll look at, what are you good at? Well, in his case, he thought he was good at building relationships, finance and investing. He was a former banker, project startup. He had helped a few nonprofits start up over the years when he was in banking. Staff management, writing, public speaking, seeing the big picture of a project, almost like what the end result should be. Being responsible, team building, being a father, helping people and teaching. So now you can see he highlighted 3 items here. As you're going through, you're gonna see those repeated. So now, but what do other people say you're good at? Cooking, making people laugh, teaching. Okay, we have a match. Staff management, public speaking, building relationships. We have a match. And you can work through, and then when you get to the bottom, helping people. Again, here's a match. So you have a match on those 3. Moving across, what do you love to do? He loves teaching. He loves building relationships. He loves helping people. Okay, so now we got 3 matches. 4th column, what do you dislike to do? He hates managing staff. He's gotten to the point where after all those years of management at the bank, he does not want to manage people anymore. So that eliminates a lot of jobs for him right there. He does not want to be in charge anymore. So we look past that. You can actually take those options and you can put them into a lot of different programs, ChatGPT, general Google search, investment magazine research, or other similar tools. And you can find out what is a good company or job for you based off of your skill set of what you like and dislike. Now, I just happen to write one down that I've used in the past, careeronestop.org. That is a great website where you can go on there and they will give you this test for free. And they will give you the answers for free as to what is a good company for you to start or a good business for you to work in. And
What's that called?
careeronestop.org. You are welcome.
I like Career One Stop.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah.
And it will help you find something that you're gonna like. That's the best part about it. People that start companies that they don't like what they're doing are not gonna be successful. Unless they're just planning on doing it short term and flipping it, maybe getting in, getting out, making their money and they're gone. Okay, but if you're looking long term, that's not how you wanna operate. You wanna make sure you enjoy your job.
How does that compare, and you may not know, to ONET, where they have the assessment tool? There,
That's true.
okay.
Yeah, I've never used that one.
There's an assessment tool on there that's.
Probably very similar. I mean, there's,
Interest and.
I know when I pull it up, you can see 20 different companies that do the exact same thing.
Okay,
They all have different programs, but it all will take you in the same place.
hadn't heard of this one. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So now we're gonna move into business feasibility. So does the company make sense? So here's some considerations you're gonna wanna do for any business. How does your product or service bring value to your customers? If you don't bring value to it, you're not gonna sell it. So you have to be able to bring value to your customers. How big is your market? And are there enough people willing to buy your product? We talked a little bit about that yesterday with demographics. Opportunity for sales might be higher in Allentown than it is up in Topton, PA, up in the country area. However, you have a lot more competition here. So even though you have more opportunity to sell, now you have to fight for people, against other people to sell that same product. They might be doing that down here. Where if you go up into somewhere up north, yeah, you don't have competition. But do you have enough people there to make your business succeed? Or are you gonna try and sell online? There's different ways you can try and sell, but the key is, what is your market? How do you find those people? Is there currently competition in the marketplace? Just touched a little bit on that. If there is, you have to know your competition. Don't be afraid to call your competition. Talk to them. They don't know that you're opening a business. Find out the details on their product, what kind of warranties they have, what their costs are. Can't be competitive in the market if you don't know your competitors. Is the industry thriving? Again, we talked about that yesterday. So you have to understand, where is your business going to be at in its life cycle? Is it right now, big things, AI, anything that's AI driven, it's a hot topic. Industry right now that a lot of people are trying to get into, but unfortunately, the pricing has gone through the roof. Real estate. People trying to buy properties and flip properties, buy properties and remodel them and turn them into rental units. It's all going through the roof right now. So it's pushing a lot of the buyers out of the market. Some people can't do it anymore. So understanding your industry. Will the social, political, or economic climate impact your business? Again, we have to think about what's going on in the industries right now as far as product pricing. Tariffs, how is that going to affect pricing going forward? Is it going to drive prices up? Is it going to drive prices down? We really don't know yet. We're sort of in the infancy with that right now, so we have to wait and see. But economic climate, how's that look overseas? Are you buying a lot of your product from overseas, or even the materials to build your product? If you're buying your product from overseas, if tariffs keep going up, they might stop selling the product or producing the product because their profit margins are going to go down. So things to consider. And does the global economy affect your business? Unless you're in a service industry, almost always global economy is going to affect your business, because very few products are exclusive to the United States. Where everything that we produce here, we're still getting parts from everywhere around the world to make that product. So global economy is always going to be a factor. You want to make sure you understand what's going on, have backups in place for your supply chain. If something were to happen, and we talked about that yesterday also, our boats getting trapped off California during COVID. Companies that didn't have backups for their supply chain, they were dead in the water. They had nowhere to go, nowhere to get their revenue stream. So make sure you understand what is going on in the economy. SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a tool to evaluate yourself and your chosen industry or your competitors. I love this tool for competitors. I tell all of my startup companies, you want this in your business plan when you write it. You want one for yourself, and you want one for all of your competitors, because you need to understand who you're up against and what value they have that you may not have. Because you're going to need to find a way to sell that product to the customers that are already buying from them. How are you going to take that business? What's going to differentiate you? Maybe it's your personality. Maybe you like the face-to-face contact. You're out working the street talking to everybody. That's great, but price will still come into it. Sometimes you can sell a product at a higher price, but you have to be able to show the added value. What's that added value?
What does T stand for?
Threats.
Threats. Thank
So what are the threats? So that could be threats from competitors, supply chain, economic issues that are going on, technology. Is that product starting to fall off? So you want to make sure that you understand what are your threats, because that is something also, if you're looking for financing, the banks are already going to know that. I can tell you firsthand, I have a report that I used at the bank, and we are now using it at the SBDC called Vertical IQ. You can give me any industry, I can go in there, do a search on it, and I can tell you all the threats that industry is seeing right now, what banks are seeing as the issues with lending to those companies, or what the pros of lending to that business and industry are. So you have to be able to do that research. Usually a Google search will give you everything you need. However, if you were to sign up for services with me, I'd be more than happy to pull that up off of Vertical IQ. I share that with all my clients. So what does a SWOT analysis look like? Very simple. This is just a simple graph that we've done, but you can see them online anywhere. Just type in SWOT, SWOT analysis, and you'll see 100 different ones, but they all work the same. So first, you're gonna list your strengths of the company. What are the weaknesses of the company? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? This will help you differentiate yourself from your competition and find out what are their weaknesses? And can you capitalize on those weaknesses? What are their strengths? Maybe you can't compete with their strengths, but maybe you can steal ideas from them as to what's working for them and try and emulate it into your company. The threats, and that's going to be maybe traffic patterns, what's going on with the city. Maybe they're doing a remodel. If you remember when this bridge was shut down, I'm sure that affected Elias's market on the other side of the bridge. So understanding what's going on in your neighborhoods, states, and what opportunities do you have? Is there an opportunity for growth? Is there an opportunity for maybe buying a competitor out? Getting a market share that no one else is in? So understanding all that information is going to help you determine how much opportunity do I actually have here, and can I make it? Okay, so we talked a lot about it, but I'll go through these real quick. So what are strengths? Industry experience. How much do you have? How much does your competitor have? What is your network size? That is becoming more and more important in this day and age. Who do you know and how can they spread the word for you? How much time have they been in the industry? How much money do they have? Do you have the financial backing to compete against them? They might be a company that sinks $500,000 a year into marketing, and you're a little mom and pop business just starting up. Your marketing expense is going to be $2,000 if you're lucky. How do you compete against that larger company? So maybe you don't try and compete against them. You go after the customers that they're not going. That's how you're going to combat it. How's your credit? Strong credit, very important for any business. Can't expand without good credit because no bank will lend to you if you don't have good credit. So making sure how does your credit look? And do you have support from your inner circle? We talked a little bit about that yesterday also. Who's on your side? Family members, or is your family behind? If they're not, that's a big challenge. Most people, especially husband and wife, I always like to put this one out there. If you're married and you're looking to start a business and you need to get lending, an SBA loan, guess what? Your spouse will have to sign off on all those loan documentations because it's going to be a personal guarantee. What does that personal guarantee incur? Everything that you own. So if you own a house, your spouse has to be willing to sign off on that house being used as collateral. If you own a car, same thing. That's all part of your personal assets. So making sure you have that support from your inner circle. Weaknesses, lack of industry experience. That one tends to be one of the biggest ones that I see usually. And it's an easy thing to overcome if you have the right staff. Have somebody, if you don't have experience in this, you need to have somebody who does, someone that can lead the way. You might be the person running the company and be the person taking on the risk with all the money that you're putting in, getting the loans, but you need a person to run the company that knows how to run that industry. Weakness might be small network size. You don't know a lot of people in the industry. Maybe you just moved to this area, new to the area. So you need to build that network. Maybe it means going out to chamber events. Maybe it means joining a local networking group. I know I used to be in a company or a group called BNI. They were a great facility. Every time we went in there, if you're in a good networking group, they're going to hand out referrals to each other every time you walk in. Credit and collateral challenges. Maybe you're young and you don't have credit yet. Maybe you were previously married and you had a divorce and your credit is damaged from the divorce, or maybe from medical bills. That's another big one that we see a lot of right now. So how is your credit? How can that affect you? Have you worked on getting it fixed? Lack of energy. And this one always, you have to understand as a business owner, it's nonstop. You're going to be living and breathing it. From the moment you wake up to when you finally fall asleep, and that's if you fall asleep because of all the stress that comes with being a business owner. you have to make sure that you have enough energy to do this. If you're doing the trade, and we were talking about this earlier tonight, you better have a lot of energy because that is hard work. But the rewards for it, if you can do it, great, but you're gonna need the energy to do it. Technology and social media gremlins. This one, think about, and we talked about this yesterday, an iPhone. Great tool, love it. 1 year from now, a lot of people throw them away and buy the new one, or trade it in and get the new one. Technology is constantly changing. So what is great today, if you're working in that industry, you have to make sure you're keeping up with the trends. You might have a phone that you sell for $500 this year. Next year, if you can sell it for 200, you're lucky. Because nobody wants to buy it anymore. They all want the next greatest thing. And how's the sound today? Is everyone
I
hearing
didn't,
me okay?
yeah, there was no feedback that they couldn't hear it, so it must be good,
Awesome.
hopefully.
No, if anyone can't, just let me know.
Yeah.
Opportunities, it could be a new market that you're going into, a growing market. Lehigh Valley, one of the fastest growing markets on the eastern seaboard right now, driven by technology, driven by transportation, and now a lot by our healthcare also. A lot of healthcare moving into this area. You have successful competition. Most people don't like to think about that. They're like, I don't want successful competition. Yes, you do. Because that shows that it's a proven trend that's going to work in that market. All you have to do is either take some of that business or find untouched business that hasn't used it yet. But you want successful competition. National growth. Maybe you're thinking down the road, are you going to expand? Or maybe your competitors are looking to expand national growth. So what are the opportunities, not only for you, but for your competition? And technology, again, it changes day to day. Making sure that you're keeping up with technology. If you're in a business that is selling technology, keeping your inventory under control. That is one thing they don't list in here, but you want to make sure you're managing your inventory if you're dealing with anything with technology. Don't buy a lot. And I can give you an example of that also, even in the biking industry. I had a client that bought a bunch of bike parts and materials and bicycles during COVID because no one could get stuff for their bicycles. He loaded up on inventory. He did great, made a killing. As soon as everything started returning back to normal, he had all this inventory. Now he can't sell it because he was buying it at a premium, so he could get it, be the only person in the market to have it. Now he can't do anything with that inventory. So understanding it can work for you, but it can also burn you. If you keep too much of it, bike parts are just like any other technology. They become outdated. And threats. So threats, being able to get funding. What happens if you can't get the funding to expand or to open your doors? Political and economic impacts. Well, we talked about that. What does the local environment look like as far as international trade, getting materials? Changing market trends. That was one we talked about yesterday also. Let's go back to the bowling industry. I told everyone yesterday, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have lent to a company that was doing a bowling alley. It was a dying industry. Now, since COVID, it's exploding, coming back. Every one that I've seen in the Lehigh Valley is doing good. The couple that didn't make it through, yeah, that was probably from demise from before COVID, honestly. But all the ones that made it through COVID, they're doing great now. Supply chain, making sure you have backups. That's the one thing I will stress there. Don't rely on one vendor for a part. If you have parts that you need, make sure you have multiple parties involved where if one runs out, you have someone else you can go to. And AI, what is AI going to do? We already are starting to see that in a lot of businesses. People are being replaced by AI, whether it be just in operations or whether that be in robots that are doing the work at some of these larger manufacturing companies. They don't need a lot of people anymore. So is that going to be a threat to your industry? Something to think about. So here's just a real quick one that the previous person did. This is his breakdown of a nonprofit music and video company. That's what he ideally wanted to do when he retired. So what were his strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So his strengths, his desire, his network, he had a great network of people. He had a lot of time on his hand because he was now retired. Finances, he was doing good. He was creative, he loved public speaking, he was good with management, he had good project startup costs. His weakness, he hated paperwork. He didn't like music and video. He didn't have the music and video production knowledge. He knew a lot about music and how to teach music, but not about knowledge about the music and video production. So you can see, I won't go through all of them, but those are what he listed in his. So now he knew what he was good at and what he needed to work on. Those are the two biggest things in that first section. What are the opportunities? So what can he do to improve himself? What are his threats? So lack of financial support. Nobody really, I shouldn't say nobody, not many banks like doing lending to nonprofits. It can be done, but it cannot be done by the SBA. SBA will not do startup funds for a nonprofit company. So that takes him out of the picture. Even though he's a startup business, because he wants to be a nonprofit, he's gonna have to find some other source of funding. So lack of community support. He didn't know anyone in that business per se in this market. That's why he said it would be good for this industry or good for this network in this area because there was no competition. But because of that, no one knows about him. So he doesn't have the community support. And the other threat, changing music and video market. So for those of you who remember MTV, MTV was music videos. That's all it was. Now it's reality shows. So the industry's changed. And you have to be able to keep up with those.
Real quick, Daryl, we just got a question, and I know we're kind of trying to keep those to the end, but I think this one goes with this.
Good.
I think I have to click answer live. Oh, no, wait. So this is, oh no, Carrie. Oh, I just accidentally let it go. Carrie, I'm going to allow you to talk real quick if you want to ask that question. So I'm just clicking allow to talk. Carrie, I don't know if you hear me. Hey, Carrie, are you there?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hello?
All right, you're good.
So
You
my
got it.
question was, how do we get investors to actually invest in our company and possibly get on the stock market?
Get on the stock market. Wow. Those big expectations right there. That's good. So every way you find funding, it's going to be different from one industry to another. For example, if you're looking to grow your business and it's in retail or it's in, say, manufacturing, that's going to be more your traditional funding where you can go to a bank and you can find a bank that'll give you the capital you're needing as long as you have enough equity injection into the deal. Now, if you were looking to do something more along the lines of like fintech, web development, there you're going to need to find investors. Now, investors, there are some good ones in this area. One that I would recommend would be Ben Franklin. It's a national program, but we have one located right at Lehigh University. They're specifically designed around new inventions, new technology. But when you're dealing with that, you're also going to want to work with attorneys because you're going to want to get some intellectual property protection for yourself. And then going national with the stock market, I'll be honest with you, that I don't have a lot of experience with. That would probably be as you're growing your company, if you're allowing people to buy into ownership through stock. So you would have to figure out, is there a value for that stock at this time? But that you'd probably be better off talking to an attorney about that.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. So business development. So now you've determined that your idea could be profitable. So now what do you do? So this is where we move into the business model canvas. So this is a tool that's going to really help you understand how your business is going to operate, what all the expectations are going to be within it. This is the one we talked about yesterday briefly. It's like a thought board. This is where you're gonna be throwing all the information into it that you can. So it's gonna be a strategic management tool to basically quickly and easily define and communicate a business idea or a concept, all within one page. So it provides information about the target market, the needs, the roles that the business services or products will play in meeting those needs. Gives entrepreneurs a wide snapshot of everything that you're looking to do. Can lead to a hard stop of the business idea, or can give you a green light to expanding your idea to a bigger, a larger business plan. This is probably the biggest thing I will stress on. Hard stop. There are times you will be looking at through your business model canvas as you're trying to develop, what is your company? What do we do? What do we need to do on our daily basis to operate? You might get to a point where you hit something and you say, I can't do this. And that's fine. That happens with people. So either one of two things, you have to find a workaround. And if you can't find a workaround, you're done. You don't move on from that point. Don't spin your wheels trying to make something work that will not work. If it doesn't work, you move on from it, whether it be going to a different model, different industry, but you want to make sure that it makes sense. And if you can't make sense with it, you're wasting your time. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So here are the things that you should always know. So who are my key partners? So that would be maybe your family members, your accountant, your attorney, your bank lenders, your insurance agents, maybe businesses in the area that you're going to be working with, that you're going to collaborate with. Those are all your partners. What are your activities that you have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? What are your key resources that you're going to be using for the business? What's the cost structure to get into the industry? The revenue streams that you're going to be able to produce? Your value proposition. What are you doing and who are you going to be doing it for? That'll vary industry to industry. You have people here that their value proposition might be, I'm helping people do paperwork. Okay, they're an accountant, they're an attorney. That's going to be a lot different than someone selling a product. So what is your value proposition? Customer relations. So who are your customers? What are you doing to provide them with a service or a product? What are the channels that you're going to be using to sell your product? Online. If you're going to be doing it online, what experience do you have? What do you know about online sales? Are you going to have storefront? Are you going to be selling at farmers markets? And what are your customer segments? So if we were to move on, let's go through some of these. So value proposition. Things to think about with the value proposition. You have to be able to solve a problem or a customer need. If you're not doing one of those two things, you're not selling product because no one's going to buy it. You have to be able to do one of those two. Quantitative. So what is the price, speed of the service, location, and size? These are things when it comes time to figure out how do you want to operate, you have to be able to tell me, okay, what's your price point? Is your price point going to be competitive in the market? How fast is the speed of your service if you're doing service? So if you're a CPA, how fast can you get the tax returns done? If you're doing business consulting, how fast can you find the information that your clients are looking for? Qualitative. So tell me a little bit about the design. What's your customer experience going to look like? And each value proposition focuses on a specific customer segment. So again, some people say, who are your clients? Oh, everybody. No, not everybody is going to be your client. So to give you an example, look at Wawa. You go there, every time you go there, you expect consistency, convenience, and gas, fresh sandwiches, and they're always going to be the same. No matter what Wawa you go to, it's going to taste the same. Where if you go to Produce Junction, you're going to get fruits and vegetables at an affordable price. Are they always going to have the same thing? Probably not. They get what is shipped into them. So this customer is focused more on looking at affordable pricing. This customer they're not really worried about pricing, although it's cheaper than some places. They're going there for the consistency and the added products that they can buy at the same time while you're there. It's a one-stop shop, two totally different customers. So you have to be able to understand who is your customer. Moving into that, we're gonna look at customer segments. So you need to be able to justify a different offer for each segment of customers that you're dealing with. They are reached through different distribution channels. So way I like to describe this one, you have an 18-year-old and you want to find out how to touch base with them, Instagram, YouTube. You have to be able to understand where do you find them, and that's where you find them, on their iPhones. Where you look at my old age group, and I hate to say that, but my old age group, we use technology a little bit, but we're more Facebook. But we like being able to go on and take our time just reading through articles, seeing things out there, looking at marketplace, see what people are selling stuff for. So you have to know, how do you find your client base? Radio, probably not the best tool anymore. Very few people listen to the radio. That seems to be a dying industry, in my opinion. But you need to be able to find out, how do you reach them? Because they're all going to be reached through different distribution channels. They require different relationships. Older client base, they like to handhold it. They want to be, prime example, when I used to work in banking, they would come in and they wouldn't even walk to the teller line. They would walk in and sit in my office with me before they did any business. They wanted to feel comfortable before they did anything with their money. A lot of them lived through the Depression or had family members that lived through the Depression, and they didn't feel comfortable just putting money into the market. You had to make them comfortable with the banking industry, especially 2008, 2009, when a lot of the banks were getting closed. They wanted to know their money was safe. So you had to take that extra time with them. They have different profitability. So some customers are going to be maybe in a fluid market where you don't need to sell as many, but you can sell it at a higher price. Or maybe you're looking at selling to at a cheaper price point, but you're going to make your money off of volume. Well, when it comes to volume, do you have the capability of doing that? How much product can you make? How fast can you produce it? How are you going to move it? Are they willing to pay for different aspects of the offer? So that one, what are you providing to them? What are the add-ons? So if you say, well, I really don't know what add-ons are in my industry. Every industry is going to have them. So you might have a lawn care business. I do your lawn care for you in the summer. I give you a 50% discount on your lawn care in the fall when I clean up your leaves. Finding out, what are they willing to pay for? You don't always have to give them a discount, but if your competitors are doing it, or that customer base is, you need that extra tool to sell to them, you have to understand, can you afford to do it? And if so, what are you going to offer? So a couple examples of this. Big corporation, M&T Bank. I used to work for them. So their customer base, corporations. They love their large corporations. They love small business. They also love personal accounts. So, but in a perfect world, these two are where they're going to put their focus. And it's not because they don't want the personal accounts, but these are the most profitable to them. B&V Nails and Spa. So their demographic is going to be very small. It's going to be located within their footprint of wherever their store is. And B&V Nails and Spa, who do you think their number one demographic is going to be? Women. Absolutely. So they're not going to have as much of a footprint as this. They're not going to have as much opportunity as the bank. Now, the bank, they're competing against a lot of different banks. However, banks are starting to close more and more offices. So more people are being driven to physical locations, even though a lot of them don't go into the bank anymore. I can tell you, I worked at the bank. I left 5.5 years ago. I've been in a bank 3 times in 5.5 years since leaving banking. Everything's electronic. You don't need to go there anymore. So you're seeing their footprints shrink, but their services are having to keep up with the technology. B&B Nails and Spa, a lot of technology, maybe some new skills that you might learn on how to do stuff for people, but your demographics are very small. Women, primarily, I'm not gonna say all, but primarily. And probably within 5 to 7 mile driving radius. So it really allows you to narrow down, how do you find your customers? Well, they're probably gonna be right around, but how do you reach them? That's the thing you're gonna have to find out. And a lot of that business, referral business, that's how most of them survive. Yeah,
Expound on psychographics. What's that mean? It said demographics and then psychographics.
The very bottom corner.
The example.
oh, I'll be honest with you, psychographics, I've never even caught that term in there. I don't know.
It's okay.
I will look into that for you. I've never even caught that term that was in there. I'm gonna guess. No, I'm not even gonna guess.
Yeah.
I'll look it up for you when we're done. So,
Here, I got it. So it's the study of people's attitudes, interests, values, lifestyles, and other psychological characteristics. So basically what you said, but yeah.
Awesome, thank
There you go.
answered it, I didn't even-
Yeah, you got around it and didn't even know.
So channels, of communication, distribution, sales. What is your digital marketing? So your website, your social media, your Google business profile. Everyone should have a business Google profile for their business. It is a free service. If you don't use it, you're crazy. Take your time and get on there and do it. To give you an example of what that would be. If you were to just Google the word Target, you're gonna see all the information on all the targets, locations, everything. But also up on the right-hand corner, you're gonna get a little box with the Target's logo on it. We're talking about the size of their company, when they were established, all their information. That's the business Google profile. That's a free service for everybody. So make sure that you're utilizing it. What are your direct sales team? Do you do online sales? If so, great. Or are you doing a physical location? Are you doing indirect retail or wholesale partners? And that would be if you're manufacturing, that's a real big one you're gonna have to understand. So who are your retail or wholesale partners? Who's selling the product for you? You're pushing it out to them, they're selling it for you because they have the ability to touch those people a lot faster. So examples, Apple. You think about Apple, Apple is great. They sell everything. However, they need their Apple stores to sell their product. They need apple.com and they need their outsourcing. They need your Staples. They need your Best Buy. Because they're actually selling their product for them also. It's not just them. They don't have enough money or time to try and sell the product. For them, it's more profitable. Let someone else try and sell it for them. I can manufacture more, I can put more money into my technology rather than trying to find distribution patterns and finding my customer base and getting it out to them. Let someone else do it for you. You just keep producing. That's their business model. Customer relationships, is it gonna be personal or automated? I would hope personal because I hate automated, but that's just me and everyone's different. Some people like getting those little automated voices that they just push one, push two. I'm not that person. That's not me. But some people like that. Some people don't want to walk into a store and do anything. Short term or long term, how long are you going to be with this customer? Is it something where you're selling an iPhone and a year later they might be back? Or is it you're selling a car? Maybe they'll be back in 6 years when they pay it off to trade it in for another car. So understanding what's your life cycle with that customer going to look like? How often are you going to have that contact with them where you have an opportunity to sell? Retaining clients. That one's huge, especially let's talk about the cars. Someone is buying a car. You think you're just going to sell them that car and you're never going to touch them again? If you are, you're crazy. You want to make sure you keep that customer within hands reach at all time, whether it be phone contact, texts, emails, sending them a card at the holidays, because you're not only missing an opportunity with them if you don't do that, but their family members, their kids. I just went through this and I was telling them, I helped my son buy his first car. Only reason I went there is because I had bought a car from them years earlier, and they treated me right. Return customer, and they didn't even know it. I just showed up with my son. But if you don't treat your customers right, you will not get their business or their family's business or their friends' businesses, because they will tarnish your name. So good examples on this one as far as how do you maintain it? Starbucks. Well, Starbucks, they win you over with their apps. That is their forte. They're great at their Starbucks. That's where you can get your money. They're good. Kohl's, another one, but they're starting to struggle from what I've heard, and I don't know what it is that's really hurting them, but they're not getting the business. They've done a lot of change in their footprint inside, how they're designing their stores, but they were always known for, well, they have their app, they have their coupons, the cash. What do they call that? The cash.
Cool cash.
Coles Cash.
Kohl's Cash, there we go, Kohl's Cash, if you're a shopper there too, like my wife. Though I do like that store. But they've done a great job, but I've heard that they're struggling, and I don't know why. But different examples of how you can stay in contact with your customers. Kohl's, they've always done a good job with that return customer business, with that Kohl's Cash. My wife gets that, she goes, I gotta spend this within the next 3 weeks, because it expires. She's off to the store. She doesn't need anything, but she's off to the store. So they do a great job with that. Key activities. So what are your daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly expectations for your company? So this one I love, because you need to know that there's gonna be different stuff. So daily, if we talk about a pizza shop, okay, I gotta open the doors. I have to make my dough. I need to turn the lights on. I need to fire up my computer. I gotta turn on the grill. At the end of the day, I gotta turn the key and lock the door. I gotta cap the cash drawer, make my deposit at the night drawer. Okay, but there's also gonna be weekly business, weekly projects, monthly projects, quarterly projects. So weekly, it might be inventory control. It might be paying salaries. You have to know what your duties are, and if you can't get to them, have someone else that can. Delegate. Activities and ownership of the activity. Again, that's where it's either gonna come down to you, and if not you, who? Who's gonna be doing it? But you need to have these projects done every day, week, month, quarter. So production, design, implementation, and delivery. So you need to be able to produce the product, design the product, find a way to move it to your customers, and how do you deliver that service? So, and that's for all of your activities, not just your customers. That's for your employees also. That's for your township, if you have paperwork that you need to file with them, getting your permits, your zoning. Sales and management, understanding who they are, what are their roles. Platform. So what platforms do you need to make all this happen? So if you're in the restaurant, you're probably gonna need a platform like Clover, somewhere where you can do credit card. You're gonna need to have it stored on your computer, your advertising, getting your promotions out to people, your website. So understanding, not only do you have those, but who handles it for you? I know if I opened a business, that network piece, I would have to hire somebody. I know absolutely nothing about building websites. I know absolutely nothing about going on social media. I hate social media. I would have to hire somebody. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So good example. So we have Lehigh University on here. What do we need to focus on with Lehigh? So we, year round, every day, we are talking about student acquisition. That's where we make our money. How are we gonna teach these students? So if we need to teach them, we're gonna need teachers, professors. We're gonna need to know, how do we pay them? How do we find them, and what are their activities? Well, they're in there pretty much daily, but weekly, they're gonna be going through student scores. They're gonna be taking tests. They're gonna be scoring tests, or delegating that out to students that they have scoring the tests. So there's always gonna be a time frame that you have to understand with every business. And then Panera Bread. So Panera is sort of like what we said with the pizza shop. They have to open and close the facility every day. They have to create the meals, and they have inventory control. One they didn't have in there, staffing, a lot of staffing involved with that also. And with staffing along in fast food, turnover. There's always gonna be a lot of turnover in those industries. What's your plan? What's your pipeline look like to replace that person? Do you have other applicants that you could bring in if you need to? Key resources. So what's your physical location? Do you have real estate? Do you have equipment? What are your intellectual properties? We talked briefly about that, patents, copyrights, maybe a recipe that you have, like Coca-Cola. had the joy of going to see their, original site down in Atlanta. And they talked about how it was founded. It was originally founded as an elixir that was basically out of an old soda dispenser at a pharmacy. And it was designed for stomach issues. They wound up selling the rights 20 years later for $1 million, I think it was. Now, I wouldn't even know where to price that, off the top of my head, probably billions is what their company worth is right now, just for the intellectual rights to their product. Human, so what is your staff and what specific skills do they have? Finance, so finance can be a lot of different things for different people, but briefly, it's gonna be startup costs, short-term working capital, long-term working capital. So short-term working capital is gonna be anything where you're like a line of credit, it's the best way I can describe it. Think of it as a line of credit. You have a short-term need because you didn't get enough money in this week and you have to make your payroll at the end of the week. That would be short-term working capital. You use your line of credit, you take a loan against it, you pay your salary. As your receipts start coming in, as your receivables start coming in, you pay it right back on. That's short-term. Long-term would be equipment financing, buying a building, buying a car, anything with a term on it, that's gonna be long-term working capital. So examples, Josh Early Candies, big thing for them is everyone knows their location. The staff has been pretty much the same staff for years. I go in there to buy nonpareils for my wife and they know me by my face because they've been there so long. And their recipes, best chocolate around, hands down. Another one, Lehigh Valley Sporting Clays, totally different customer, but they also are known for their location, but they're also known for their equipment. But the other thing that they're also known for is having a very high insurance policy. Those of you who don't know Lehigh Valley Sporting Clays, it's a facility where you can shoot shotguns to shoot clay birds out of the air. Their insurance policy is through the roof. It is very, very high because there's a high risk. So who are your strategic partners? So again, your buyers, your suppliers for your business, your advisory board, your banker, your accountant, your insurance agent, your attorney, business consultant. Those should be your strategic partners, the people you rely on. If you don't know an answer, you can find that answer from somebody else. Or your buyers and your suppliers. God forbid that someone runs out, you have someone else in line that can fix that for you. You can buy that product from somebody else. Or if pricing goes up, you can shop it around to somebody else. Strategic alliances between non-competitors and competitors. A lot of small businesses in this area, you'd be surprised, they share business with each other. They both might do engine repair, but one specializes in transmissions, one specializes in engine rebuilds. They send business to each other nonstop, because by doing that, there's always gonna be not only what you're generating, but the referral business that you're getting. Because the business that you're sending them, you don't wanna do that business anyways. So they refer business to each other, having those partners in the market and understanding who can help you, who you can help in return. Referral services. So understanding what referral services you might offer, whether it be a discount, someone comes in, they buy something from you, you give them a refer a friend deal. They send somebody over and they get $5 off their next transmission service. So a couple examples, actually one good example they have on this one. Iron Pigs. So all their food product vendors, those are going to be their strategic partners. All those food services that they provide in there, that's not them. They sublease all that space out to vendors that want to come in there and sell their product. The marketing and promotion that they do. They have a team that does marketing and promoting, but they still utilize outside sources also for them. And their sponsorships. They're constantly doing sponsorships, whether they're going out to schools, whether they're going to public events where they can get their name out there. There's always going to be sponsorships to get them out to the market. All right, so now we're going to get into business development. So typically everyone likes to say, well, I need a business plan. And that is true. If you're looking to start a business, everyone should have a business plan. Regardless of whether you're looking to get financing or not, think of it as a living, breathing, working document that you will look at every month, find out, here's what I expect to do, here's what I'm actually doing. Is it working? And maybe you're gonna find out that you're actually doing better than you thought. So maybe you want to readjust your business plan. Well, what's working for me that's making this money? Maybe I want to allocate more funding into that marketing segment or into advertising that. Or if it's not working, what's not working and how do I get that out of my business plan and replace it with something that can be more successful? Every month you should be looking at that business plan. But more importantly, it's also going to be needed if you're looking to get financing. If you're a startup company, you will need a business plan, whether it's dealing with a bank, whether it's dealing with a small community lender like the Rising Tide. You're gonna need a business plan. There's no way around it because there's nothing for them to work on. There's no history of numbers that you have for your business. You're a risk at this point. So business finance. Finance involves the planning and reporting of how money is acquired, used, saved, and spent in your business. I always tell everybody when I was at banking, think of it as a 3-step process. You have money coming into your business. What does it do when it stays in your business? And how does it leave your business? Those are the 3 things. If you can't understand that with your company, you need to learn it because the banks are going to want to know how that works. Talk to me about your business cycle. Money comes in. Okay, how are you getting paid? Is it cash? Is it credit card? Is it online? When it comes into your account, let's say you're getting $10,000 a week. What are you doing with that? Okay, $2,000 goes out in expenses. At the end of the week, okay, that's great at the end of the week, but what do you do with it while you have it? Okay, I put 75% of it into my checking account, 25% of it into my savings account. Okay, so you're making a little bit of interest on your money. That's good. You're keeping it liquid. That's good. You're not tying it up in something. Those are the things the banks will want to know. And then at the end of the week, what needs to be paid? At the end of the month, what needs to be paid? Your rent, your electric, your utilities, your payroll. That's how they figure out your cash flow cycle. So you need to be able to explain that to any lender. Startup costs. Okay. So close your eyes, because that's the one that always scares people. They don't like to consider startup costs, but there's always going to be costs. So you're going to need a business plan, and we talked about this yesterday. They say 12 to 36 months of revenue expenses. Forget that 12 months. 3 years. You're going to have 3 years of expenses, cash flow projections figured out for any business. And the reason being, most businesses fail within the first year, if not the first year, the second year. Yesterday, figure, if I remember right, is 75% of all businesses fail within the first 12 months. 99% of the time, maybe not 99, maybe 90% of the time, actually. It is because lack of planning and lack of capital. They run out of money before they can start hitting that break even, where they start making money. So having a business plan in place with projections showing you what you need to operate your business is the key. And a bank will not lend to you without having 3 years of projections. So very important. And Rising Tide, same thing. Now, some banks will allow you to do the second year and third year quarterly. I personally don't like that. I'd say do them monthly because you're going to have some businesses that are seasonal. You want to make sure that you're able to cover your shortfalls during those slow seasons. So it's critical to a lender when they make their funding decision. That's how they're going to figure out, can you afford to pay the debt? That is the number one thing that they want to know. They don't want to take collateral. They don't want to take your property. They just want to get paid back with their interest. That's what they're reporting to Wall Street. And if they don't get their money back, it affects them at Wall Street. So the last thing they want is your collateral. They just want their money. So making sure that you can make that payment, that's the number one thing. So here's what a sample one looks like. This is similar to what I use. Mine's probably a little more detailed, but it'll give you an idea of what you want to understand. So you might have multiple revenue streams. So let's say you're doing a automotive repair and detailing shop. Okay, so maybe you want to put revenue one as auto repair, Revenue 2, detailing, because you're gonna have 2 different crews working on the product. What are your expenses? Okay, well, I have an accountant. Well, do you have to pay your accountant every month? Pay him quarterly? You pay him at the end of the year just to do your taxes because you can do your own QuickBooks. That's gonna vary from person to person and business to business. Your attorney and legal fees. Hopefully you don't need to pay them every month, but maybe you do. Maybe you want to keep them on hand because you're dealing with a lot of contracts. Maybe you're doing a lot of real estate. So you might have legal fees every month or retainers. Your bank fees. Bank fees, almost every business is going to have them every month. And it's twofold. One, very few banks do free checking accounts for businesses anymore. Almost all of them charge for their services. They will also charge you if you're doing a lot of cash deposits because they don't want to keep that cash in their office. They get that money, they do shipments back to the Fed usually once or twice a week. So to cover their expenses, they're going to charge you for handling cash. Also, let's say you're not handling cash, you're taking credit card. You're still going to have fees every month for credit card. On average, most companies, every time you swipe a card, about 2.5% to 3% of that money goes right back to the bank. Because they're taking a charge out for using Visa because they need to cover themselves because most of those Visa cards, they're gonna have rewards on. So Visa is giving money back to the people for using their card. So they collect that money from the bank. So the bank collects that money from the people that are buying. It just works in a cycle, goes right through. Whatever money is coming in, if they're giving away free money, it's not free money. If they're giving away rewards, we're paying for those rewards through the fees that we're paying when we use our credit cards. So just to give you a little story, there's no free money for rewards. Equipment and purchases, so you might have some small purchases. Cost of goods, that's gonna vary from company to company. But everybody should have cost of goods. What I tell everyone, if you're thinking about opening a business, Google it. Just say, what is the average cost of goods for a food truck? What is the average cost of goods for a restaurant? And you're gonna get varied numbers. Certain industries, it might be 20%. Some of the industries, it might be 30, 40%. So what cost of goods is everything that you're selling. What does it cost you to get, manufacture, create, whatever that product or service is that you're selling? What is your cost of goods to get that and make it? So for example, a restaurant, restaurants are usually 35%, give or take. That's gonna be, okay, I have to buy all the food to make it. I have the payroll for the person that has to make it. Then the electricity bill. Everything that goes into making that pizza, that's your cost of goods. So when they say 35% cost of goods, what that would be, if you're making $100 for your pizza, just use a round number. $35 is gonna be your expense and your cost of goods. 35% of the total revenue that you're making for your product. That's the best way to describe cost of goods. Think of it that way. Whatever you're producing, what's the cost to do that? Sell that product. And then we go into your insurance. So a lot of these you might find are fixed expenses also. I always like to set aside money for building and vehicle maintenance. I call it the rainy day fund when I do projections. Because you never know what's gonna break, but when it does, if you don't have money saved, now you're scrambling as a business owner. Where am I gonna come up with that? You have a roof leak, a couple $1,000 possible. You're renting, you might be okay, it might be the landlord's expense, but you have to be prepared for whatever expenses that may come up. Marketing, so how are you doing your advertising? Are you doing business cards, brochures? Are you in the Chamber of Commerce, social media? I typically do all this in one line on my expense reports that are on my cash flow reports that I do. I don't need to know everything they're doing. They need to know everything they're doing. So just tell me how much you pay in marketing every month. And it might be all year I pay $300 a month, but the first month when I opened, it was $2,300. Okay, why was it $2,300 in the very first month of operation? Because you created your website. So there was an additional charge. So maybe that would be something that we could figure into your business loan and stretch that out over 5 years. So you don't have to as much money out of your pocket up front.
Sorry, I have a
That's all right.
question. Someone asked if they should budget to pay themselves a salary as a sole proprietor and how would they figure that out?
That's a good question, and that can vary. So typically, as a business owner, you're gonna pay yourself, a sole proprietor, they can take money out of the company whenever they want. The key is, are you gonna kill your company doing it? So you have to understand how much cash can you afford to take out. Now, if you're a sole proprietor or you're an LLC, two totally different methods there for taking money out. So LLCs, you do not take money out of your company as a salary. You do not take money out at all unless it is through what they call a distribution. That is where you're gonna wanna work with your accountant to make sure that they're recording it properly. So you cannot take a salary. Now, as a sole proprietor, you could go out with a credit card, make purchases on the company's credit card, say you wanted to go grocery shopping. You could do that in theory with a sole prop because it's all your money. It's not a company money, it's your money. But I always say, understand how much cash you have at the end of every month. If you know you're gonna have cash at the end of every month, there's nothing stopping you from taking that out, but don't cut yourself short. Make sure you have that extra cushion in the event of an emergency. Say cost of products go up. Well, cost of products go up and you're selling your product, that's great. But now when you go to replace those products, you're gonna be replacing them at a higher price, but you've always had your business structured off of the money that you were charging before. Well, you might not be able to buy as much product now because the cost of goods went up. So have that extra money set aside, your rainy day fund, a money market account that you just put some cash away every month. Something like that, just to protect yourself or those unexpected. Some people, if you're not putting in the rainy day into your projections, your building maintenance, your vehicle maintenance, your unexpected expenses. If you don't have that money set aside and you have a shortfall, you might not be able to get through it. Unless you have some sort of short-term working capital, like a line of credit, a credit card. That help with the answer, I hope?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is 1 year projections. So recap of the tool. So we talked a little about interest inventory. We talked about the SWOT analysis, the business model canvas, and the financial templates. The financial templates, that was a very basic one. If you get to a point where you're ready to really start digging into it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to sit down. Typically, I tell my clients to do a good, like, 3-year breakdown of expenses, revenues. You're gonna need to know the basics of your business when you come in to see me or talk to me. We'll need to know, are you paying rent? If not, how big of a building do you need? Roughly, what would that building cost you? And we can get rough numbers, but you need to understand, does it make money? That's the most important thing. And that's, if it doesn't make money, we mentioned it yesterday, it's a hobby. It's not a job, it's a hobby. So make sure you're making money. You don't want to be working hard for free. So what are your next steps? So review the tools. All this will be going out in an email. I believe yesterday's event went out to everybody today, but if it didn't, it will be out to you tomorrow at the latest. And if you have questions, meet with a consultant. Doesn't have to be me, but I will say our services are free. So if you're looking for help, don't hesitate to go to our website, sign up for services. We have 5 people in our office that we can assign you out to. Everyone has different specialties. One of them does importing and exporting. 2 of us are finance specialists. We also help with startups. We have one that's strictly for growth for companies that are now in expansion, like where they've been 3 years or more in business and we're looking to grow. We have a person that specializes in that. So anything we can do to help you, please feel free to let us know. Now I'm going to open up the questions up because we might have some questions. I'm going to take a seat. My legs are tired. Any question?
Yeah, good. That's great. Yeah.
Are your services for compensation or are there, we come to you as your sponsor through the college?
No, what we do, the way we work, you go to our website, you sign up for services, we assign you, we help you. What we will typically ask is when we're done helping you, we'll send you a letter saying, what did we help you acquire cash? We help you start your business. You just let us know what we did to help you, and we just report that to the state so we can justify our jobs. That's it. That's the way I can describe it. Everything we do is free though. There's no fee. No fees. No. We just, we live off of word of mouth from our customers. Every year I might call 3 or 4 of my clients and I send them a list of state reps. And they'll just basically, I'll have a generic letter for them. They can add to it. They can do whatever they want. They sign it. I mail it out to the state reps just to let them know how we're helping the community.
How do we, what time is it?
When you sign up for services with our office, so, just Google Lehigh SBDC. You'll see a tab that says request for service. You click on that, you fill out your information, and they will assign you right to someone in the office. As soon as you get assigned to that person, you will get a link to their calendar.
Can we, question?
Absolutely.
I actually joined SBA a long time ago.
Mhm. You're probably still in the system. believe it or
I
not.
keep getting emails, I hadn't looked in a while.
Oh, yes,
It
if
was
you're
going-
getting our emails, you're still in the
Well, it was
system.
going to another account that I hadn't been watching.
Okay.
Every twice a month, SBA's been sending.
You-
So do you need an SBA to do the SBDC Lehigh?
No, well, the
That's
SBDC
separate.
is separate. Yep, we're a separate entity. We're funded through them, but we're a separate entity.
It's not required to have an SBA account.
No.
Just to link up to.
Nope, you can go to any, and I think once you're with our SBDC, if you move, you can go to any SBDC anywhere.
So there's region.
Yep, we're throughout the United States. We also have offices in Canada. I just found that out not too long ago. I didn't realize that we have offices in Canada. Any other questions? Any questions online?
Nope, that was the only
No.
one.
Well, I'll be here for a little bit if anyone wants to talk. But thank you all for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
David.
Now that shut off, I'll say this to the group though. If you do need lending for